Hello YouTube and welcome back to another video. In fact, this is the start of a brand new series here on the CCobrock channel. I am going to attempt to build a 2D game using the gaming engine Godot, or however that is pronounced wherever you're from. And this is a free open source engine for building 2D and 3D games. I've never developed a game before in my life. I am a professional web developer by trade, so this shouldn't be too difficult. This is not a video on how AI can make a game or anything like that. I am going to use AI to help me do this. I have my own software called Foreman, which is kind of like a hub for AI coding agents that I can perform multiple tasks at once to try and get things done. This is just to test that software out and to see if sort of Claude Code is actually capable of doing this from start to finish with just me at the steering wheel. So before further ado, let's get into what this is going to involve and spread the series out as far as I can and explain as much as what's going to be involved. So if this is something you're interested in, please stick around and let's get straight to it. Okie dokie, so without further ado, the pieces of software that we're going to use to create this is this gaming engine. As you can see, it's totally free and open source. So it's, I believe it's a very small download. I can't actually remember the size of the download, but it was quite small. And it just looks like a coding IDE to me. So that is where I'm at the minute. I have downloaded this, I have installed this, and this is what we're going to be using to make the game. The second piece of software that we're going to be using is my own software. This is behind a pro license, so if you do want to use this, this is $29.99 Great British pounds, around $30. So that's just a one-off payment, and this can be used free then forever, or after that payment it can be used forever with no more upcoming payments. You also get access to Marketplace, I'm calling it for now, but it is just add-ons that I'm creating for this application, for this software, that can be used for creators and also developers. So we will get more into this, but for this video purposely, this will just be used to help me create this game inside of Godot. So I will explain what Foreman is before we start, and I will be explaining how it works and the power of it as we go along with this video series as well. So if you do want to give this a try, I am going to leave a link to this down in the description, and you can go ahead and give this a try. The only problem is, and it is a problem at the minute, it is only available to Mac with silicon chips. I am in the works of creating Windows and Linux installers, so we'll just see how that goes. But quick rundown on what this is: you download this, and if you pay for multiple coding agents, for example Grok, or maybe you pay for OpenAI, as it mentions here, there's quite a few we can get: Grok, OpenAI, Claude, among others. If you have Ollama installed on your machine, after you pay for a license, this can be used entirely for free. You don't have to pay for any AI subscriptions. But if you do pay for your subscriptions, all of this can be pulled into one single coding playground, I like to call it, where you can have things built, you can have things checked, error messaged, you can have them debugged, all in one place. You add projects as projects and then give that project certain tasks that are run by the coding agents that you add. So I will be using this in this video. Hopefully it can showcase the power of it, and we can build some sort of community behind this. I'd love some sort of assistance with coding this and getting the idea of how I can present this for free to a YouTube community and somehow lift that license. But for now, this is part of the business that I'm trying to create. So this is offered at around 30 Great British pounds, $30. So if you do want to give it a try, please give it a try and give me some feedback in the comments and let me know what you think. So the game. Which game are we going to try and get my software Foreman using Claude Code and other coding agents to make using the gaming engine Godot? Which game are we going to get it to make? Okay, so I am in my 40s, so I have played a lot of old gaming systems, and my gaming career, let's say, or gaming experience, started when my father bought me an Amiga 600 for Christmas. He bought my brother an Amiga 1200 at the same time. And one of the games that came along with that was called Cannon Fodder. I don't know if any of you remember this game, but it is from 1993 and it was available on the Amiga 600, 1200 and 500, I believe. I haven't gone into much research about this, but we can have a look very quickly. So yes, the Amiga, not quite sure what models it was available for, but what is it putting this game down as? Published by Sensible Software, developed by Sensible Software, and published by Virgin Interactive Entertainment for the Amiga. Virgin later ported the game to MS-DOS. I'm pretty sure they've released newer versions of this as well for multiple different platforms. So this is a game very nostalgic to me. I played it on my first ever computer console, if you would like to call it, because that's all I ever did with my Amiga. I couldn't work the paint program that came with it or anything else. So I believe that I would have been 8 years old when I was playing this, 9 years old. So it is very nostalgic to me, and it feels like a game that can be quite simply built as a 2D game these days, 3D game these days, with the power of the Godot engine, but also an AI agent telling me and showing me kind of what to do. In fact, I'm probably going to just let it drive on this one and just make sure that I accept the right approvals. So this is the game that we're going to make. We're going to try to make or replicate a game similar to Cannon Fodder, the original game that was released in 1993 for the Amiga. I mean, shouldn't be too difficult, right? But we're going to call this game Disposable Assets. Yes, if you think you've got a better name for this game, please let me know in the comments. I don't want to use AI for the creativity of this, so naming and things like that I'd rather leave to the human mind. But yes, if you do have any suggestions on what I could call this instead of Disposable Assets, maybe you could just leave me a comment and let me know about that. That would be fantastic. So yeah, that's the software, the game, and now we know how, and sort of the scope of how this is going to be built with my own created software called Foreman. That will be a link in the description to that software if you'd like to give it a try. And also, if you do, please give me some feedback on that as well down below in the comments. That would be fantastic. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's get started and dive straight into this. So here is my software, Foreman. This is the catalyst of what we're going to use to maintain, drive, and sort of debug the build process. I've never used this gaming engine before. I've never developed a game before in my life, so I am going to lean on Claude Code 99% of the way through this. So without further ado, let's get started. So in Foreman, we can create a new build, a new project essentially. So let's try that. Existing folder. I have created a folder for this on my desktop. So let's get into that and create this build. And within this build, we can add new tasks. So let's pick a agent for this. Let's go for Fable 5. Why is back on offer? I don't know if you've used Fable 5 yet, but it's absolutely fantastic, especially for coding issues or coding relative projects or tasks that you've got to do. So let's get started. I would like you to help me build a 2D game using Godot. It will be similar to the classic game Cannon Fodder, but we will call it Disposable Assets. Okay, so we are gonna need a little bit of planning. So can you help me with the setup process and get the project added to Godot? I do have Godot already installed, and you can use the folder I have provided here. And let's just see what that does, because that's a very loose prompt. There isn't much information there for it to go on, apart from we want to make a game, we want it to be like this and do it in this folder. So let's just see how Foreman handles this and allows Fable to start planning, to be honest. So with Foreman, we should never ever be able to break anything, fingers crossed. As you can see here on screen, we should always be prompted and given approval statuses more or less every step. There is some cases that I've seen and it does try and go in and ask me questions that I seem to have to stop the prompt and answer separately. So that is a bug that I've spotted that obviously I'll be working on. But this channel is all about how this software is built, me maintaining and updating this software. So I'm going to be transparent about everything as it comes, possibly see anyway. So let's just keep approving. For now, it is just trying to read my system and think about what the best thing is to do. So we'll just let it finish and see if it gives us some sort of plan that we can start to break down and get this moving. So yeah, let's see what it says. We do have a terminal view of this as well, just to see what it's actually getting up to for real. I do also need to build in a interruption sort of feature into it rather than stopping the prompt. But even when I do stop the prompt and ask another question, it picks it up straight away. It doesn't even ask if I'm relating this question to the previous prompt. So that's good. It's just not user friendly or user UI friendly to have to keep stopping the prompt when I can just interrupt it anyway. But as you can see, I have created my own view of the terminal. I did have Cloud Code Terminal for the longest time, but it just looked very codey, and I'd like people who don't have much coding knowledge to be able to use this and still create applications that work, that aren't broken, that are feature rich without much coding knowledge, which I do believe is the future against many developer opinions. I suppose that's going to be, including my own at first. So yeah, I believe that's the future. So I hope Foreman can be part of that evolving future, and you guys as well, along for the journey, I'm hoping. So again, it's beginning to write stuff here. It's actually beginning to put scenes and files. So hopefully that doesn't break the Mac, because I am using a MacBook Air M4, all this is running from. So no special equipment whatsoever. This is what I'm using to record these videos and also run Foreman and Godot as well. Godot. So it's still... Oh wow, okay. So that has opened... I did think I had a version of... Okay, so the Godot editor is opening with your project now. Opening it this way also registers disposable assets in the project manager list. So it'll be there whenever you launch Godot in the future. Well, I have Godot here and it has not launched this. It has launched it in what? I definitely saw a window, but I actually can't see where it went. So that was very strange. Let's just close Godot, shut that down, and see if Foreman can open that again. So my Godot app did open, but closed straight away. Can you try to open that again? So very strange what that's just done. So what I set up, project folder structure is there. Project settings chosen for a Cannon Fodder style game. 1280 by 720 width with canvas items, stretch mode. Scales nicely for pixel art. Nearest neighbor, texture filtering, crisp pixels, no blur. GL compatibility renderer. Light and perfect for 2D. Military green default clear color as a stand-in for terrain. Okay. Input map. Move to left click and shoot, right click. Move to left click and shoot, right click. Okay. So it's asking me to launch or launch Godot myself through the application. Is it struggling to do that? Okay. So let's launch that. Let's import the project because it clearly can't do this itself. So we're in desktop. Yeah. We're in projects and disposable assets. Valid project found at path. Fantastic. Well, at least we know that worked. So it got that right. So this is the window that it opened previously. Okay. So this is opened in Godot. Okay. So I don't see any sort of background yet. But that said, the project is now in here and we can see that. So we've got scripts, we've got scenes, and we have maps with nothing in, sprites and audio. Okay, so I believe now we probably need to get the sprites, maybe something like that. Okay. Let's do that. Let's get the sprites, get the assets that we need, so any future building can just go straight ahead. It's not looking for sprites that I've not downloaded or assets that don't exist. So let's get that done now. Okay, so textures. Textures and assets. Let's get a new and say, maybe we don't need a new task. Maybe let's just continue this one. What textures will I need, and can you list them? That should have been assets. So what assets? So at least we should get something close to what we need, like say grass, mountains. I don't know. Are those separate or are they all in one package? So hopefully, I do have a website that it has recommended previously called opengamer.org. So yeah, hopefully that one comes out and we can use that. So let's just see what it comes back with. Core gameplay is a handful of assets. Characters, sprites, sheets, top-down view, 8 frames each. Bullet.png. What? Okay, can we look at the folder structure that it has created for this? Desktop, projects, disposable assets, assets, so maps. Okay, let's look for textures on not the right one. So I have a site here. Oh, it doesn't want to paste over for some reason. There we go. So I found these. I've downloaded these, so I'll put these into the folder and see what it comes back with then, because hopefully we've got some map texture for it to work with. So let's see what it does though. So Foreman did go to work. I asked it the question about textures and can you add these to the Godot project, which it did. We now have a textured grass background, which admittable it's 3D more or less rather than retro 2D, but at least it got that in there for us. So next one is sprites and soldiers that we're going to use. So typical Claude fashion, it went away and kind of did a few steps a little bit too soon, or maybe one or two steps ahead. So just let me explain. We've actually got a sprite now on screen. As you can see, it's very top down, and he's got his head, his gun sticking out, and a leg. So what happened was I couldn't find what I wanted really online sprite wise for free. I really wanted something half decent, you know. I didn't want something, even though I wanted something for free, I didn't want something for very cheap. I was willing to pay. So another question asked to on Foreman, asked to Claude, and Fable is the model that we're using, and it spat out some links for some pro models that you can download. So I was a little bit concerned because I thought these might be a bit costly. I'm trying to do this more or less for free. And it gave me a link. They were $1, $2 full sets. So we would get a soldier, enemies, firing, dying, sounds, everything. I think it cost me $1.37. So this is the result of me telling Claude that I've actually purchased this pack, it went and found that folder on my computer, and inside of Foreman, it literally just added the assets what were needed into Godot, the gaming engine that we're using to make this. So yeah, that was very intuitive. But let me just show you before we move on, kind of how that process came about with Foreman. So I've asked it, or told it, I can't seem to find a free soldier sprite for this. Really, no context at all to that prompt. So it's obviously gone away. It's made its own SVG. This wasn't great. It was literally a static overhead shot or overhead PNG of a soldier. No gun, just a head and a nose, believe it or not, sticking out. This guy looked like Pinocchio. So it was all right for free. As you can see, it's drawn it here. It's put it in and everything like that. But when I checked it, it just didn't look right at all. Didn't have the right quality. So I've obviously gone away, downloaded something. I believe it was Itch. It was from this link here, and this was what I was trying to get for free, but I just couldn't find what I wanted. That website is so complex to use. I couldn't find what I needed to. So I downloaded the assets from here. I've then told Claude that we have assets and can you put them into this folder. So it's gone away, and I had a bit of an error here which I have fixed now inside of Foreman, but it just got stuck. So I stopped the process, asked it could it find it again, and then it kicked in and it picked that back up. So it's just explaining to me here that it's found them, it's copied them in, it's updated the player script to drive the animations, because the animations pack came with arms and legs that move and things like that. So then it's telling me that there's what it's picked up. There's 4 color schemes, 4 soldier designs. So and then it's this is what the pack included that I have pointed Claude to. This is what it's found, and then this is what it's wired up. So it's telling me, and I've done a little bit of research on Godot. Everything is scenes, isn't it? And we can build a scene with layers and things like that. So this is what it's trying to explain to me here, and it's obviously saying right click now plays the 9-frame rifle shoot animation, then returns to the idle aim. I haven't tested this. Hides the legs and the players. So it's telling me that it's enabled movement and shooting, but I don't think that's the case. Let me. Okay. Yeah, so that's more or less a shooting animation, I suppose. Oh, I can walk. And it started walking, and I really didn't know that is a big surprise. Doesn't really mention, does it? There's no sort of context there at all that it's told me that it's added the walking in. Animated soldier. Okay, right click now plays the 9-frame rifle shoot animation, then returns to idle aim. Die function ready, hides the legs and plays one of the 2 death animations at random. Nothing calls it yet, but given the game's title, it'll get plenty of use. That is quite clever, I must admit. So we have a soldier that moves with animation. I get back to that so we can see it, and I believe that might. Let's have a quick look at that, just so. So he moves around. You can see his legs moving, and then he also shoots with right click. So left click is the movement, and he's moving to wherever I point him, and then right click is the shooting animation. That has 9 frames. Does he move his? Oh, it's his arms that are moving, isn't it? Fantastic. Okay, so I think that might be time for a possible summary of what we've done here. This is going to be a multiple episode series, so I kind of just wanted to get the project set up in this one. I didn't think we'd really get that far, trying to keep the videos to 30 minutes approximately each, something like that. Yes, let's summarize what we've done and see what we can do in the next episode. So, do pardon the editing production of these videos. I am learning that as well in this process. So, a bit of a catch up. What have we done with trying to build Cannon Fodder, the classic 1993 version, with Foreman, which is my new software that utilizes multiple coding agents to build projects, to get things done for me. I have a software company that I use this software for. If I'm building a project for someone, it's very useful and a nice assistant to have, and a nice environment to track all those projects and things like that. So this is what we are using to try and build the classic game Cannon Fodder. What have we done so far? So we have allowed Claude Code, to set up the project. So we installed, and we are using a MacBook M4. So we installed Godot, the free open source Godot, however you say that, the free source open gaming engine for making 2D and 3D games. So we installed that, fed that into Foreman, which you can see here, and then we gave it some instructions. We said we have got Godot installed. We would like to make Cannon Fodder, the 1993 classic. How can you help? So it went away, started to build the project structure, the folder structure inside of Godot. So it added scenes, it added a main.tscn file, it added player files, script files, assets when I was given to it. When given assets, it added those. I went and downloaded free textures. That was a 4-pack. There was 4 different squared grass textures that it just seamlessly added those for us. We went through a bit of a process where we created a soldier, and then I downloaded some assets for $1.37 or something like that for soldier assets. It went ahead and just added those. Which you've just seen. I believe we might be able to get that back. So yeah, we've got a soldier that runs and he also shoots. So we've got quite a bit done. Claude got quite a bit done for us. We need to do a few bits. There's a lot more needs to be done to complete this. So the next episode, I would like to add a squad. Obviously, the classic Cannon Fodder is like a conga line of 2 to 3 soldiers, I believe. I remember it being 3, but I've seen screenshots of 2. So maybe we can add that choice into the menu, or we can level up to 3 soldiers the further on you get. So the next step and the next episode in this YouTube series will be adding an extra soldier, and obviously enemies, hit zones, hit areas, and a flash to a better muzzle flash to that gun, and obviously firing actual bullets. So that's quite a lot to do, and we shall get that done in the next episode. So I really appreciate if you have followed along with this. Again, I know the production level of these videos might not be 100% Casey Neistat style, but I am learning that as I go along. I'm really enjoying this process. I know I'm not coding this myself, so the next episode we will look at Visual Studio Code and actually have a look at what it's writing for these player movements and animations, as I'd be keen to see that. We've not looked at that yet, and that is quite a bad example for a developer such as myself. We should be looking at that code and seeing what it's updating for us. So we'll get that done in the next episode. Thank you very much for joining me. If you did enjoy this and this is something that you're interested in, please consider subscribing. That would really help out the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.